Chapter 20. The Book of Emancipating Slaves. Chapter 1. One who frees his share of a slave. Ibn Umar, Allah be pleased with them, reported Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, if anyone emancipates his share in a slave and has enough money to pay the full price for him, a fair price for the slave should be fixed, his partners given their shares, and the slave be thus emancipated. Otherwise he is emancipated only to the extent of the first man's share. This hadith has been reported on the authority of Ibn Umar through another chain of transmitters. Chapter 2. A slave working to pay off the other half. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger as saying, the slave who is jointly owned by two persons and is emancipated by one of them, this one has liability upon him to secure complete freedom for that slave. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Prophet as saying, if anyone emancipates a share in a slave, he is to be completely emancipated if he has money, but if he has none, the slave will be required to work to pay for his freedom, but must not be overburdened. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Sa'id b. Abu Aruba with the same chain of transmitters, but with the addition, if he, one of the joint owners emancipating the slave, has not enough money to secure freedom for the other half, a fair price for the slave should be fixed, and he will be required to work to pay for his freedom, but must not be overburdened. A hadith like this is reported on the authority of the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight change of words. Chapter 3. Al-Wala, right of inheritance, belongs to the one who manumitteds the slave. Ibn Umar reported that Aisha decided to buy a slave girl and then set her free, but her masters said, we are prepared to sell her to you on the condition that her right of inheritance would vest with you. She, Hadrat Aisha, made a mention of that to Allah's Messenger, whereupon he said, this should not stand in your way. The right of inheritance vests in one who emancipates. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that Barira came to her in order to seek her help in securing freedom, but she had so far paid nothing out of that sum stipulated in the contract. Aisha said to her, go to your family who owns you. And if they like that I should pay the amount of the contract on your behalf for purchasing your freedom, then I shall have the right in your inheritance. If they accepted it, I am prepared to make this payment. Barira made a mention of that to the members of her family, but they refused and said, if she, Hadrat Aisha, wants to do good to you for the sake of Allah, she may do it, but the right of inheritance will be ours. She, Hadrat Aisha, made a mention of that to Allah's Messenger, and he said to her, buy her and emancipate her, for the right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates the slave. Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, then stood up and said, what has happened to the people that they lay down conditions which are not found in the Book of Allah, and he who laid down a condition not found in the Book of Allah, that is not valid, even if it is laid down 100 times. The condition laid down by Allah is the most weighty and the most valid. Aisha, the wife of Allah's apostle, reported, Barira came to me and said, Aisha, I have entered into contract for securing freedom with my family who owns me for 9 uqiyas of silver, 1 uqiya every year. The rest of the hadith is the same, but with this addition. The problem of the right of inheritance, should not stand in your way. Buy her and set her free. He said in a hadith, Allah's messenger stood up among men, extolled Allah, praised him, and then said for Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported, Barira came to me and said, my family owners have made contract with me for granting freedom for 9 uqiyas of silver, payable in 9 years, 1 uqiya every year. Help me in making this payment. I said to her, if your family so desires, I am prepared to make them the full payment in 1 installment, and thus secure freedom for you, but the right of inheritance will vest in me. If I do so, she, Barira, made a mention of that to her family, but they refused, except on the condition that the right of inheritance would vest in them. She came to me and made mention of if she, Aisha, said, I scolded her. She, Barira, said, by Allah, it is not possible, they will never agree to it. And as she was saying it, Allah's messenger heard, and he asked me. I informed him, and he said, buy her and emancipate her, and let the right of inheritance vest in them, for they cannot claim it rightfully, since their right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates a slave. Therefore, these people have no right to lay such false claims. And I did so. She, Aisha, said, then Allah's messenger delivered a sermon in the evening. He extolled Allah and praised him with what he deserves, and then said afterwards, what has happened to the people that they lay down conditions which are not found in the Book of Allah, and the condition which is not found in the Book of Allah is invalid, even if its number is 100. The Book of Allah is more true than any other deed, and the condition laid down by Allah is more binding than any other condition. What has happened to the people among you that someone among you says, emancipate so and so, but the right of inheritance vests in me. Verily, the right of inheritance vests in one who emancipates. Hisham bin Urwa narrated a hadith like this, with the same chain of transmitters, except with this change, that in the hadith transmitted on the authority of Jartir, the words are, her, Barira's husband, was a slave, so Allah's messenger gave her the option either to retain her matrimonial relation with her husband or sever it off. She opted to break off and secure freedom for her even from the matrimonial alliance, and if he were free, he would not have given her the option. In the hadiths narrated on the authority of this chain of transmitters, these words are not found. Amma Badu. Abd al-Rahman Ba'al Qasim reported on the authority of his father. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, said, there were 3 issues which were clarified in case of Barira. Her owners had decided to sell her on the condition that the right of her inheritance would vest with them. She, Aisha, said, I made a mention of that to Allah's apostle, and he said, buy her and emancipate her, for Verily, the right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates. She said that she emancipated her, and Allah's Messenger gave her the option either to retain her matrimonial alliance or break it after emancipation. She, taking advantage of the option, opted for herself the severing of matrimonial alliance. Aisha said, the people used to give her charity and she gave us that as a gift. I made a mention of it to Allah's Apostle, whereupon he said, that is charity for her, but gift for you, so take that. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that she had bought Barira from the people of Ansar, but they laid down the condition that the right of inheritance would vest in them. Whereupon Allah's Messenger said, the right of inheritance vests with one who shows favor, who emancipates, and Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, gave her the choice either to retain her matrimonial alliance or break it. Her husband was a slave. She, Barira, also gave Aisha some meat as gift. Allah's Messenger said, I wish you could cook for us out of this meat. Aisha said, it has been given as charity to Barira. Whereupon he said, that is charity for her and gift for us. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported, she wanted to buy Barira with a view to emancipating her. They, the sellers, laid down the condition that the right of inheritance would vest with them. She, Hadrat Aisha, made a mention of that to Allah's Messenger, whereupon he said, buy her and emancipate her, for the right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates. Allah's Messenger was given meat as gift. They, his companions, said to Allah's Apostle, this was given as charity to Barira. Whereupon he said, that is charity for her, but gift for us. And she was given option to retain her matrimonial alliance or to break it. Abd al-Rahman said, her husband was a free man. Shuba said, I then asked him, one of the narrators, about Barira's husband, whether he had been a free mart or a slave. Whereupon he said, I do not know. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Shuba with the same chain of transmitters. Aisha reported that the husband of Barira was a slave. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, the wife of Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, said, free are the Sunan usages that we came to know in case of Bayrara. She was given option in regard to her husband when she was emancipated. She was given meat as charity. Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, visited me when an earthen pot with meat in it was placed on the fire. He asked for food, and B was given bread with ordinary meat, usually cooked in the house. Thereupon he, Allah's Messenger, said, don't I see the earthen pot on fire with meat in it? They said, yes, Allah's Messenger, there is meat in it which was given as charity to Barira. We did not deem it advisable that we should give you that to eat. Whereupon he said, it is charity for her, but it is gift for us. Allah's Apostle also said, the right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported, Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, thought of buying a slave girl and emancipating her, but her owners refused to sell her, but on the condition that the right of inheritance would vest in them. She made a mention of that to Allah's Messenger, whereupon he said, "Let this condition not stand in your way, for the right of inheritance vests with one who emancipates." Chapter 4. The prohibition of selling or giving away the wallah. Ibn Umar, Allah be pleased with them, reported that Allah's Messenger, may peace be he upon him, forbade the selling and making a gift of the right of inheritance of a slave. Imam Muslim said, "All the persons depend upon Abdullah bin Dinar in regard to this hadith. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ibn Umar, Allah be pleased with them, through another chain of transmitters, but with this change, that in the hadith narrated by Al-Takafi from Ubaydullah, there is only a mention of selling or right of inheritance, al-wala, but not that of making a gift." Chapter 5. The prohibition of a manumitted slave taking anyone as a mawla except the one who manumitted him. Jabir bin Abdullah, Allah be pleased with them, reported that Allah's Apostle made it obligatory for every tribe the payment of blood with. He then also made it explicit that it is not permissible for a Muslim to make himself the ally of the slave emancipated by another Muslim without his permission. He, the narrator, further added, "I was informed that he, the Holy Prophet, cursed the one who did that, and it was recorded in his Sahih in a document." Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported that Allah's Messenger said, "He who takes anyone as his ally without the consent of his previous master, there will be the curse of Allah and that of his angels upon him, and neither any obligatory act of his nor the supererogatory one will be accepted by Allah." Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Apostle as saying, "He who took the freed slave as his ally without the consent of his previous master, there is upon him the curse of Allah and that of his angels and that of the whole mankind, and there will not be accepted from him his obligatory acts or supererogatory acts on the day of resurrection." This hadith is narrated through the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight change of words. Ibrahim al-Taimi reported on the authority of his father. Ali bin Abu Talib, Allah be pleased with him, addressed us and said, "He who thinks that we, the members of the Prophet's family, read anything else besides the Book of Allah and this Sahifa, and he said that Sahifa was tied to the scabbard of the sword, tells a lie. This Sahifa contains problems pertaining to the ages of the camels and the recompense of the injuries, and it also records the words of the Prophet. Medina is a sacred territory from Ayr to Tavr. It is most probably Uhud. He who innovates an act or practice or gives protection to an innovator, there is a curse of Allah and that of his angels and that of the whole humanity upon him. Allah will not accept from him as a recompense any obligatory act or supererogatory act, and the responsibility of the Muslims is a joint responsibility. Even the lowest in rank can undertake the responsibility on behalf of others, and he who claims anyone else as his father besides his own father, or makes one his ally other than the one who freed him, there is a curse of Allah, that of his angels, and that of the whole mankind upon him. Allah will not accept the obligatory act of the supererogatory act as a recompense from him. Chapter 6. The virtue of manumitting slaves. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger as saying, if anyone emancipates a Muslim slave, Allah will set free from hell an organ of his body for every organ of his slave's body. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, he who emancipates a slave, Allah will set free from hell every limb of his body, for every limb of his slave's body, even his private parts. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported, I heard Allah's Messenger as saying, he who emancipates a believing slave, Allah will set free from fire his every limb, for every limb of his slaves, even his private parts for his. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger as saying, a Muslim who emancipates a Muslim slave, Allah will save from fire every limb of his, for every limb of the slave. Sa'id bin Marjana said, when I heard this hadith from Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, I went away and made a mention of it to Ali bin Hussein, and he at once emancipated the slave, for which Ibn Jafar was prepared to pay 10,000 dirhams or 1,000 dinars. Chapter 7. The virtue of manumitting one's father. Abu Huraira, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger as saying, a son does not repay what he owes his father unless he buys him the father in case he is a slave, and then emancipates him. In the narration transmitted by Ibn Abu Shayba, there is a slight change of words. A hadith like this has been narrated on the authority of Sahih with the same chain of transmitters.